Good evening, sports fans from all around the globe. Yes, we are back again. Great day earlier this afternoon. Good friend and colleague Matt Grissom on from Grissom Tweets talking some college baseball as he gets ready for some crazy SEC action tonight. And then myself and Riley closed out the afternoon with the closing bell, talked about the NBA play-in games, some MLB, and tonight, good friend, long time part of ECSI, Mr. Scott Webb, live from Florida to talk about his Rays, talk about the undefeated start to the year, some bad news with Springs. Does that mean Taz is in? Or does that mean Glasnow is that much closer? Have him talk some games that have just gotten underway, some games that are going on later tonight, and whatever else he wants to bring to the table. So without further ado, let's bring him on, the one and only Mr. Beam him up, Scotty Webb. Good evening, sir.
Hey man, it's a fabulous Friday. Is that what they say or something like that? But it is Friday, and it's baseball is something else. I can tell you that. I got off to such a great start. I was like 10-2 or something, and now I'm like 29-25 or something like that. So kind of hit those little middle things. But for me as a data guy, I need the data. I need that stuff. But once those guys hit 3 starts, which they're doing now, and then they come up on their 4th, things start to change for me. I get to use some stuff, which I got some points to talk about with some certain things. So those of you looking for some baseball information, like we'll get into a couple of things, not crazy stuff, but a couple of things, so that you have some of that stuff. But I don't know if you want to go over like real quick some of these games maybe that just started, if the people want to try to get in on some of this stuff or not. I can just tell you what I played if you want to do that. I played what time do these games go? I didn't write them down. I guess they're over here on some other sheet. I played White Sox today at even numbers. I don't think they're even numbers anymore. Maybe they're a little bit, maybe about the same. I don't know. I played Angels today on the road as a little small favorite, and I played the Atlanta Braves today. And then I added my Tampa Bay Rays -1 because I got it at plus money. So I took them plus 105. So here's what I'm going to tell people, and I hear this all the time, and people ask the question. So when do you bet against the streak? You don't do that because if you were doing that and you thought they were only going to go 6 games, you just missed out on 6 more games you could have won. Ride the streak until the streak ends, period. Don't ever go against it. So if you think you're good enough to predict when a streak is going to end, you're full of shit. I'm just telling you. You can bet how you want to bet, but the truth of the matter is you ride a streak because lots of things happen when teams are streaky. They're like walking on air, like they're in that zone of, in NFL players or baseball, basketball players, they talk about being in that zone. They score 50 points a night or whatever it is. It's like, that's what baseball teams do. They get in these spots and, nothing phases them. They get behind by 3 runs. They come back and they score 7 in an inning and stuff like that. So when it's over, it's over. And like you always say, once the streak ends, they're going to lose the second time too. Just kind of the way it works, right? So, but know your shit, right? So what I mean by that is I sent out the thing that says, hey, look, we're going to talk about some stuff, but one of the things I'm going to tell you is bet streaks. I'll get into it in more detail in a little bit, but bet streaks. Because that's how good teams band their wins over the bad teams. It's how it works. And I'll define it later, but So anyway, I played the Rays today. They got some bad news on Springs, but those guys got pitchers out, pitchers out, pitchers out. I mean, what are you going to do? So it's like you saw Taj finally, right? Taj Bradley. I mean, let's put Shane Baz down. Okay, well, that's pretty bad. Oh, well, let's bring up this kid. Okay, well, shit, he throws 96 miles an hour, gets 7 strikeouts. What's he do? I think blowing away people. It's like, are you kidding me? Imagine if they had Glasnow on this team right now. I mean, holy shit. Now they're not going to win 162 games. They're not going to have that kind of streak, and they're not going to be, I still in my projection numbers have them at 90 wins. And I know Fangraphs has them at 96 wins. So how do you do that? I mean, how do you sit there and go, okay, well, I get it. They won 13 straight games or 12 straight games or whatever it is. And you have to bump them up a notch. But when you try to make lines and you try to give it a legitimate power ranking, you don't want to, you know what I mean? Like there's two stories there, but you still have to figure out kind of where they're going to end up and how good are they. And I have them tied right now with Toronto at 90 games. I still have the Yankees at 93 games, but I think the Yankees over the course of time are going to fade. And I think you're going to see Toronto kind of pick up and pass the Yankees is what I think you'll see.
Speaking of streaks, and you are spot on, as I said in the show earlier today, this afternoon is, we're too late to the party with the Rays right now. So we're just going to wait till they lose. And then again, I don't care if, Randy Johnson came back and pitched tomorrow. If say they lost today, we're going against them tomorrow. I can guarantee you that we'll figure a way how to go against them. But my point is, go back sometime for some of the younger listeners tonight. They won't remember this. I know you remember this, and I don't have the year off the top of my head. I want to say 86, 88, when the Tigers started the season 35-5, and then they went 500 the rest of the year, and then of course they went on to take the whole thing. But the fact of the matter is to get out to a 13-0 start, there used to be the blueprint for the Red Sox very simply was this: play 20 games over 500 at Fenway and go 500 on the road, and you'd win the division. So you've already got a great head start in a division that is top heavy, obviously, with the Yankees and the Jays.
Well, let's say it this way. There's 162 Major League Baseball games. Every single team is going to win 50 games, every one of them. And every one of them is going to lose 50 games. So there's 60 games in the middle. So how do the good teams win? Well, the good teams have more winning streaks than the bad teams, and typically they have longer ones. They have losing streaks too, the good teams. They're going to lose. They're going to have several times when they lose 3 or 4 games in a row. And it's just the way it works over 162 games. But they're also going to have maybe 2 of those where they might have 6 where they win 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 games in a row. And that's the difference. So when a losing team is losing, it doesn't matter who's losing. If a team's losing, 2 things. One, be a little cognizant of what kind of team it is. If they're a good team, so say the Yankees start losing or something, and they've lost 2 or 3 in a row, be a little careful. But ride it out till it ends, especially if you were on it at the beginning, because the truth of the matter is they're shorter. The good teams have shorter, long losing streaks than the bad teams. I mean, what is Oakland's at, like 6 now, or maybe not 6. They beat the Orioles once there, I think. But those teams have those long streaks. They get to a point where they lose 6 games, or they lose 7 games, and I get it that sometimes when those teams are playing, especially if it's one of the bottom feeder kind of teams, you're gonna have to find a way to get in the game. You're going to have these minus 200 numbers. And, look, if we're talking April 14th and we got minus 200 numbers, what do you think they're going to be in August? In June and July? They're minus 300 numbers. I'm just telling you, that's coming. So you got to figure out how you're going to play this stuff and what you're going to do and how you're going to get in the game, whether you're going to start looking at first fives, run lines, whatever you're going to do, whether you're going to do team totals, because that's another way to combat some of this stuff. But you want to be on there. You want to be against the teams that are having the bad streaks. You want to be on the teams that are having the good streaks, and unfathomably do that. Just do it. Don't blindly do it. Kind of like what you're looking at, but at the same time, do it and do it and do it and get in a habit of doing it, and you're going to win more games. When I first started doing this, and I don't know if I ever told you this story, Jeff, but when I first started doing this, there was a guy that I was kind of trying to figure out what he was doing. And he would tell me, he would say, Scott, you know what? I'm going to win more games than you. And I go, well, how are you going to do that? He goes, I am never going to bet on a team that didn't win the night before. That's what he would tell me. He said, that's rule number one. If you bet on a team that lost the night before, you're going to lose more games than me. And I go, well, why do you say that? He goes, because they lose back-to-back games, and you think they're going to win those games, and they don't. And if they win, they're going to win more often by winning the second game than they lose that game. And he said, and that always sticks with me for a lot of reasons, but and I don't always follow that, because I started doing that and I'm like, shit, I'm missing out on some of these goddamn games. So when you play out the game, you got to have it kind of how you want it. But I will suggest that as a basic premise, that's not necessarily a bad idea.
No, as we always say, Scotty, there's a million ways to skin the cat. What we've done here in the first, it was funny. I talked about this earlier today. It took them 2.5 to 3 months to get caught up to the market in the overs in the college basketball. And the same thing can be said in the NHL team totals. And so what we've done is we've created a different market here where we've started the first 12 days looking at the first fives again, but we're looking a lot more at team totals as well. And today there was 1-9, 1-9.5, and the rest were 8s and 8.5s. But if you peel that onion back further, the Phillies' first five, even with an 8.5, which was the true number that was pushed to 9, the first five over under was 5 and a hook. And then you look at some others, they were 5. They're giving you signals that they're, even though the under over might be 8.5, 9, 9.5, there's still going to be potentially a lot more runs scored in the first 5 than there is in the back 5 or the back 4, or however you want to call it. So as you're talking one way, I'm talking another way. And in baseball, as you said, 162 games. There's no other sport, no other season that can even come close. You can combine the NBA season at 82 and the NBA and the NHL at 80, and then you get the 162 there. But in baseball, you have 162 total games.
And it's interesting how you kind of break some of the stuff up and kind of look at it. I was talking to a guy, and he's in the business, so to speak, and we were talking about stuff. And one of the things that we're seeing, and it's pretty regular and pretty prominent on Twitter and anywhere else that you might want to look, but you're getting a lot of people out there playing all kinds of different numbers, all kinds of different things, trying to put that $10 bet out there and win 500. That's what they're doing. And or whatever kind of ticket like that. So here's what I'm going to suggest. I'm going to suggest that when we're talking, and you and I are on here and we're on the air, or I'm talking sports betting. I'm not talking fantasy betting. There's two different things. Okay. I mean, fantasy betting is these guys that have gone on, and there's nothing wrong with fantasy. I played fantasy leagues and daily fantasy and all that stuff. And you try to win those tournaments in those leagues, and you try to outpoint everybody. And you try to put, what you see is, oh, Mike Trout's going to hit a home run, and this guy's going to hit a home run, and that guy's going to have more total bases, and they're going to have 6 strikeouts and blah, blah. And I'm going to put it all together, and I'm going to bet $10 to win 500. I get it. That's fantasy games, and that's carried into sports betting. I'm not talking about any of that stuff, guys. And you won't ever hear me talk like that. Because I don't care what you do if you're going to do that kind of. I mean, you can do that all you want, and maybe that's the right strategy to have, because you need 35 guys to be betting on to get some of that stuff to hit. If you're going to bet, what is there, 15 games today? There's 9 guys on each thing. So you got 30 teams. There's 270 batters today. And you have to go out and figure out who's going to get hits. And then you got to bet on them and all that stuff. So you better put 30 guys out there and figure out if you can hit a couple of them. And then if it pays off, it pays off. I get it. So that doesn't bother me. But that's not sports betting. That's fantasy betting. So that's what I meant by fantasy betting. It's a different atmosphere. Sports betting is you're going to go out and put $300 on a game to expect to win $300. You're not putting $10 out there to win $300. So it's a much different thing. So you better be way more convicted at the window and understand exactly what you're betting, what the odds are. Here's that damn term again, and whether your expected value is good or not, or don't make the damn bet, because there is a difference between what sports bettors do and what fantasy bettors do, and fantasy bettors don't really handicap anything, and don't all you fantasy guys don't get mad at me. But the point of the matter is you guys all run algorithms and run. You guys all run computer programs and your Bayesian charts and your this and your that. And you play things out 1,000 times and go, well, this has got the better probability, so I'm going to make that bet. Great. That's not handicapping. That's running a button. It's hitting a button and the computer ran a program for you and said, this is the most probable solution for you. And I get it. So you're going to make those bets. Nothing wrong with it. But what we do and how we do things are way different in the sports betting business, because you can't go out and make these wagers the way you guys make them in the fantasy world and expect to actually carry an account and carry, a sports betting account to the point in which you're going to make money, because you won't. You're going to lose your money. You don't win enough.
ECSI VIPs, hats off. Cashing the ticket early. I love these, cashing them early. First 5 over 5.5 plus 105. Phillies Reds 5-1. Bottom of the third. Cash that ticket. We had some pizza and beer money on the Phillies. Team total over 5.5. We're just waiting for the extra cheese and pepperoni. Hopefully on that, we got 6 more innings and 18 outs to grab that one there. Scotty, you escaped a bases loaded 1-out situation in Toronto, as you only got 1 there. Yankees up 2-0, bottom of the second there. Cortez versus Varland. Angels put up a crooked number 2-0, top of the second against the hapless Red Sox. San Fran, Detroit 1-1. Mania versus Wentz, and Quantrill versus Williams. The Guardians at Washington 0-0, bottom of the second. Late night tonight, Scott, or games that haven't started. Did you see anything, any pitching matchups, anything that the people watching right now might be able to dive in later with?
All right, so here's another one. You know how you have I forget what they call them. I could look it up, but I got baseball on the mind, not football on the mind. So football has a teaser structure that where you have a specific set of numbers that you can bet, and it's actually EV positive. If you don't bet those specific numbers, then it's EV negative on every teaser you make. And I forget what they're called right off the top of my head. I mean, I could pull up my sheets and stuff, but I don't want to mess around with that because it's just a comparison thing. And so here's what I'm going to tell you. A lot of people are scared to death of the full game run line. What if I told you you should start betting -1.5 away favorites as long as the total is 8.5 or less. That's what you want to look for. There is one spot there tonight in that role. That's the New York Mets. You can get Kodai Senga. I think the total is like 8.5. And if you take him as an away favorite minus the 1.5, it's like -140 or something, which is not a bad deal. So you want to change the number and you want to beat up on the Oakland A's? Okay, great. You got Kodai Senga out there. So I think that if you're going to make run line bets, don't worry about it. I mean, I get it. You as a home team, you don't get that home at bat, so you're going to get 8 at bats. That doesn't rule it out, but I will tell you the better way to go is just what I just said. But that qualifier is extremely important because the qualifier tells you that the reason those bets win is because you got a pretty good damn pitcher on the mound. And he's going to hold the other team down. That's what happens. You might win 4-1. So because bullshit, it doesn't matter. You won. So that's what I'm saying is usually those numbers matter and make sense because the pitcher for the away team, because they're the away favorite already, and if you're looking to bet them on the run line, they're a bigger favorite than so they got a better pitcher on the mound. And generally speaking, they're going to shut down that home offense. And so you want to look at it from that perspective. So late night, that's the one I like.
I was looking at that again. Our true number initially was 8 with a 185. Right now it's circa 220 with a flat 8. There is an 8.5 brewing at Penny, but it hasn't popped on any of the open markets, the offshore markets, or anything like that. Just tweeted, and it was great eyes on Riley as we were doing the bell. We gave out a couple home run props. He talked about the Burger Man at the White Sox a few days off back in plus 315. Burger with a solo shot there. White Sox on the board, 1 there. As we speak, Scotty, we're coming into the weekend. You and I will not be here on Saturday. I'm staring at a million lines. I know you don't have your stuff up there. Were there any series that really caught your attention? I talked to a few colleagues that weren't too happy with the matchups here, but I thought there was a couple series that were going to be intriguing. I thought the Cubs-Dodgers was definitely one. Minnesota proved a point yesterday with Joe Ryan against the Brito man. Now the Yankees are trying to say not so fast there. Your Rays, obviously, at the Jays. I'm trying to look. Braves at Kansas City doesn't pop off. Any of the series catch your eye later on this weekend?
Well, I think one of the ones that's a very misunderstood series is when Houston plays Texas. And the reason I tell you that is because for the Texas Rangers, not necessarily the Astros as much, because the Astros are pretty dominant, winning against everybody. But the Texas Rangers, this is like an in-state rivalry thing. They get all fired up to play the Astros. So don't be surprised if they put up a hell of a fight against the Astros, no matter what it is or no matter who's pitching and whatever it is. And I think, it's kind of like, because I live here in Florida and I was pretty close to the Marlins at one time. The Marlins and the Mets have that same thing, but it's all one-sided. The Mets don't give a shit about the Marlins. But the Marlins think the Mets are the god-awful enemy, and they want to beat the shit out of the Mets. So, but those are sort of insider secrets, right? Those are sort of the things that, you don't know really about, but until you start talking to players and you start doing different things. But you look at that and you kind of go, holy shit. So just be careful on some of the stuff when it comes to that. I'm charting some things that I did last year, and some of it's off to a pretty good start. One of the things that I like to chart is what I call the carryover theory. Um, so Blue Jays got 2 runs now. So kind of the way I look at it is, if a team, and what shocked me about it is it kind of worked. One of them worked a little backwards, but one of them didn't. So if a team's off of a home losing series, so they lost 2 out of 3, or they lost 3 out of 4, and now they're going on the road. And it doesn't matter kind of what the series, because they play, they usually play 2 series at home, if not 3 in some cases. But it's the last series. So if they played the last series, they lost 2 out of 3, or they lost 3 out of 4. Now they got to go on the road. That my belief, and I'm charting it out, and I did it last year, and it proved it to be about 54% right. So it's pretty good. Is that that team will lose game 1. It carries over to that first away game. So that's the carryover theory for that. But what I didn't realize was, because I charted it 4 different ways, and so far this year, this is 6-0. That doesn't mean it's going to stay that way, but it's 6-0 for right now. Is if you lost an away series and your next game is at home, you win that game 6 out of 6 times this year. 6 out of 6. So in my mind, that's pretty good. So you got to keep your eye open on certain things that make sense, right? So this is, let me say this the right way. If you look deep enough in every single game, because I see these guys putting, trend after trend after trend after trend after trend out here, and they're betting on all that stuff. But if you do it right, you're going to find 30 reasons to bet on a trend for this team and 30 reasons to bet on a trend for this team. Because if you don't, you're not looking at them good enough, because you're going to find them. They're out there. So if you're a trend to better, okay, what do? You're not doing your own homework. I guarantee it. You're pulling off the stuff that's on, all these other websites, and you're pulling that shit off. So the only trend to follow is logical ones that make sense. Why would it make sense for a losing home series team to lose the first game on the road? Well, the reason is because they feel pretty shitty that they lost those games. Now they got to get in an airplane, commiserate misery all through the airplane. Then they get into the hotel room. They don't want to talk to each other. Then they got to go to the ballpark and play the first game. Well, that's probably not a very good scenario for them. The vice versa that I'm learning is exactly the opposite. When you just come home off of a losing series and you're coming home, it's kind of like, well, goddamn, I got this shit behind me. Now I can start fresh at home. And that's kind of what they do. They come back and they go, holy shit, it's great. I'm glad that I don't have to deal with this no more. I'm not on the road anymore. I get to sleep in my own bed. I'm comfortable. And you know what? Brush that crap off. None of that shit ever happened. And it's all a new start. That makes logical sense. And if it's logical sense, follow the trend. If it doesn't make logical sense, I don't know, the Blue Jays on Tuesday nights, when the wind's blowing, 10 miles an hour to the right field, they score seven runs more than normal. Don't follow that. Follow what makes logical sense.
I always talk about that, the water cooler games. The Boston Celtics are 10-0 on Friday nights after losing on Wednesday, facing an East Coast team that has just traveled at least 1,500 miles. And then everyone saw that on the 4-letter word or some other crawler, and they're talking about it. And of course, none of the time it doesn't come in. And the true question is, where was this the first 9 times? And then the light bulb finally goes on for most people. So next week we will be back on Tuesday.
I got one more for you.
Go ahead.
He's got one more. And I know that I've been kind of rambling on about certain things, but I think
No,
this is helpful. I mean, I just think this is helpful for baseball, but this is helpful to anyone. So there are guys that I've seen on social media, whether it's Twitter, Facebook, wherever, it doesn't matter, just social media. And some of these guys, and one of them now is saying that they work for the Action app, whatever that means. I mean, I know what it is, but he's this guy that's out there, and he's telling people today, for example, to go out and take an underdog, take an alternate line +2 runs. Okay, well, what does that do to the line? Makes it -195. And then the night before, he said, okay, he was out there celebrating a bunch of shit. And he's like, well, I just bet the Baltimore Orioles, who are -200 against the A's, and I bet the Tampa Bay Rays, who are -200, and we just beat the CLV by 25 cents. So congratulations, guys, we won these bets. Okay, those aren't the guys. These are the things I want to make sure that it's very clear. There are certain guys that do that stuff. And then there are other guys that go out and say, I just put $1,500 on a -300 to win 500. Or I put 3,000 on a bet to -300 to win 1,000. Okay. There's a difference. And here's the difference. The guy that puts the big money out there, you guys are gonna laugh at me when I say this, but the guy that puts the big money out there, he's a professional gambler. I didn't say he was an investor. It's not what I said. I said he's a gambler. He's willing to take the big risk to take back what he considers guaranteed money. So he wants to win that $1,000. He's going to put whatever it takes to win that $1,000. So he's betting a big money line, but he's not betting a big money line like most people would bet a big money line. He's not out there going, I'm going to bet 300 to win 100. I'm betting 3,000 or 30,000 to win the money that I want to win because he thinks it's guaranteed. You and I, Jeff, we both know nothing in this business is guaranteed. And if you're willing to risk 30,000 to win 10,000, then you got some pretty big cojones on you. Now, having said that, that's what those guys do, and they live and die that way. And so I'm not talking about that. I want to be very clear that that's what professional gamblers do. It's not what tout services do. That's not what tout services expect you to do. A tout service, if it gives you a play that's -200, they expect you to go out and play -200 to win $100. That's what they think you're going to do with it. So they're not expecting you to go out and wager, $4,000 to win 1,000 on that bet, or 2,000 or whatever. So be careful what you're listening to and what your opinions are shaded by, because there are times when smart people go out and make big bets because they're gamblers, not that they're the best bet. I didn't say they were the best bet. I said they're gamblers. And they expect that to be free money. And, more often than not, it is free money. But the general public guy can't afford to go out and put $10,000 on a game and lose, and then tomorrow get a phone call or do something else and go, holy shit, I got another one, and be able to go out and put $10,000 on the next game. He can't do it. A professional gambler can, and that's the difference. They got money, and that's how they play. So when you see that on timelines and in these things and all over the place, just understand that that's very real, and it very real happened. But at the same time that it very real happened, that's a different world. If you're following tout services and you're trying to get, build your account and trying to learn how to do things, stay thinking, like Jeff and I always talk about, stay in the game, bet certain percentages of your bankroll, do this, do that, monitor your money correctly, and, you'll get there. Because we're going to give you plays, but we don't always win either. If I'm 29 and 25, I ain't very much ahead. But at the same time, I've had pretty much fun while I was doing all that stuff. But the point being is you got to go out, and when you see your spot, whatever that spot is, if you act on it, and if you're a professional gambler, they act on it enough times. If they have a good year, they'll make hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most professional gamblers are $50,000 to $100,000 a year earners. You don't believe me? Check them out. If they share any information, check it out. There are very few guys out there making millions of dollars on sports gambling. There are hardly anybody doing any of that. And most everybody that you meet says, yeah, I win, I do this, I do that. Bullshit. You're not. There's 95% of you, maybe even 97, all lose, all long-term losers. So don't so you can tell me whatever you want to tell me. I just don't believe it. I don't believe it. So anyway, point being is, pick your spots, make your money, do your things, but be understanding of what you're seeing, reading, and looking at. Because the truth is, you get it mixed up. There's so much junk out there that you get it mixed up. You might see some kid that's out there, playing video game land and doing this bullshit, and he bet 20. I've seen these tickets. They're $20,000 tickets. They're not dollars. If you look at them close enough, they're goddamn pesos. And when you do the conversion on 20,000, it's $1,000. That's what it is. 20,000 pesos is $1,000. So the guy went out and bet $1,000. Okay, well, a lot of people can do that. Not a lot of people can go out and bet $20,000, but you're going to show a damn ticket that's got 20,000 pesos and think, oh, look at me, buddy, and all the other stuff that goes on. Just don't get caught up in all that stuff. Just don't. If you got questions, you want to know who's real, who's not real. Jeff and I know. Jeff knows everybody. I know half of the people Jeff knows. So you want recommendations? We can tell you. I'm not going to tell you on air, but I can tell you. Ask me a question. I'll be glad to answer it.
The scroll has been going the whole time. Obviously, you can follow me at EC Sports Invest. You can follow Scotty at Webby20MLB on Twitter. If you're not following us by now, go over to YouTube at East Coast Sports Investors. Subscribe. It's free. Scotty, as we wrap this up until next week, tell everyone where they can find your plays and what you offer as a service.
Well, I mean, I just do stuff pretty cheap. I mean, I'm not charging, $1,000 a month. I charge $49, Jeff. And all I'm trying to do is keep the lights on, not the lights on, but I mean, I'm not having my electric problems, but in my office, I want my apps paid for. I need, I want the lights paid for. I want, the stuff that I use that, it costs $350 to host a damn website. It costs $100 a month to do these little apps to generate these little things you send out. It cost me $144 a year to make sure I spell shit right. It costs you all that stuff. It all adds up. So all I'm asking for is that people, if you want plays, I'll give you plays every day. I give you my Webby odds, which are important. It's my lines against the book lines. I tell you what I personally bet every day. If you want to ask me questions, you can ask me questions. I do it all through Telegram. I do have a website. That's where you would sign up at. It's MLB-daily.com. Look, I didn't use the www this time, but it's MLB-daily.com. Just go in there, click it, and sign up. It's $49. There's a handful of guys in there right now. When I did this couple years ago, I had 30 guys, maybe 20 guys in there. So I don't expect to be rich doing these things. I just try to be helpful. That's all.
Yes, as everyone knows, we're here to educate. And with a little entertainment, we save the entertainment for the 4-letter word, Fox, and social media. Social media does a lot of that entertainment for us. So everyone here, thank you. It's been a busy day. We will take care of the rest of the stuff this weekend. Keep us on speed dial. Go DM Scott. Go follow Scott. Go DM me. Follow me. Any questions on our ECSI VIP service? Everyone knows the drill. It's simple. You can send an email to eastcoastsportsinvestors@gmail.com. Go to our website at East Coast Sports Investors. Actually, East Coast Sports Investors at gmail.com is the email. And eastcoastsportsinvestors.com is our website. Everything's right up there. It's pretty simple. Never have to leave the couch, go to work, go to the gym, go to the golf course, wherever it is. Scotty, it's been a pleasure as always. Go Rays. You guys will lose eventually. Hats off to you for the great start.
Thanks, Connor.
And
I just said thanks to why didn't you guys ask questions?
Always a pleasure, as always. Because that's the way it is. They take everything in and they process it. That's what we're here for. We're here to educate. They process, and then they take.
I know what they do. They go, listen to that guy talk. He's so full of shit.
From myself, Jeff Dawson at EC Sports Invest, from Scotty Webb at Webby20 MLB. Everyone, the weekend's here. Don't be that pizza guy. Stay in your lanes. Be sharp. Remember, tomorrow's a new day. We will see you soon.